So there's a storm coming. It could be rain, it could be wind. But your garden, what are you gonna do about it? I'm gonna give you 5 tips you can do right now to protect your garden from different kinds of storms. Let's go. Hi, I'm Doc. Welcome back to my garden. You're probably wondering right now, Doc, why were you wearing a raincoat? It's perfectly sunny outside. Well, I'll tell you why I was wearing a raincoat, because it's not going to be sunny. In fact, I've got a little less than 24 hours, and that includes part of the nighttime, before I have these serious rains and winds. Now, different kind of weather events, those are what gardeners' nightmares are made of. That's what we come out here, we spend all of our time, we put our blood, sweat, and tears into these gardens, into our little farms, and then one little storm can ruin it all. Now, it may be wind, it may be rain, it may be heavy wind and rain, it may be both. In my case, it is. Hurricane Beta's in the Gulf, and I'm down in the Gulf Coast area, the southeast Texas, and we're definitely gonna get some rain and wind. We might have a hurricane, maybe, possibly. It's a definite maybe. Doesn't matter. Look, I'm going to go through right now different ways for us to protect our gardens from rain and wind. Now, I know some of you deal with pop-up snowstorms or heavy freezes. I don't have much of that here, so I don't have much advice on that, but I do have advice on this. So, Hurricane Beta is looking at us right now. We're not scared, though. You know why? Because we're alpha. It was cheesy, I know. So let's talk about winds a little bit. Now, we all have the occasional breezy day and those things that go on with maybe a spring thunderstorm, and that's not really what we're talking about, although sometimes they can be bad. But winds in general have a strange way of hurting things. There's all kinds of reasons that winds can be bad, particularly high winds, and I'm going to give you these tips now on how to deal with that. Tip number 1 is flying debris. Now, flying debris can be anything in your yard, something that's not battened down, something that you need to pick up. And winds like I'm looking at with a potential hurricane or a close hit with a hurricane, that could be just about anything. It could be something as simple as you've left a pot like this laying in your garden. Yeah, could be really simple. Yeah, or maybe you had your watering can and you left it out and it goes flying around. It doesn't take much. In fact, one of the scariest things I've seen is things like this. This is just an empty charcoal bag. Now, normally I don't keep this in my garden. But the point is a bag can wrap around a plant, particularly a taller plant, and just rip it right out. So my first tip to you is go around your property, go around your garden, look for things that are out of place, things that shouldn't be there, things that can be picked up, things that can become airborne missiles, and that's how you take care of flying debris. Tip number 2, check your trellising. If you got anything in your garden trellised, and you should, I'll make another video on that later. You should have it trellised. If you have anything trellised at all, though, check your trellises. It's important to note whether or not the plant is actually secured in this trellis or if the trellis is actually secure. Check in the ground to see if it's good. Check and make sure the plant is properly and correctly secured. And know that when high winds come, this could simply be the only thing that protects your plants. Now, if you have some kind of trellis that is more of a wire mesh trellis, which is very, very popular, and say you have something like sweet peas growing on it already, all that foliage will act like a wind sail. So you might want to consider reinforcing your trellises that are in that manner, used in that manner, for instance, like the beans. This trellis here is a great example. This trellis was meant for sweet peas. Chickens know it's coming too. This was meant for sweet peas, but in this case, it's not grown up yet. If you have a trellis that's at an angle like this, be sure to put these back brackets, wow, they're having to go. Be sure to put these back brackets in place that will help guard against the wind. You need to do it on both sides, almost like a teepee, and that will help keep that trellis intact. That's tip number 2. Tip number 3, do other plants in your garden need support? Maybe you don't normally trellis these plants. Maybe it's something that you don't even really normally stake. For instance, these eggplants here. These eggplants don't normally need staking. They take care of themselves, even when they're really top heavy. But with the rains coming, it's a good idea to stake them up. Yeah? One other thing you can do, which is a really big deal, in this case, I haven't picked this fruit in a while. So I can come in and get a hold of that eggplant, and that takes a lot of weight off the top. Now, I have some others in here. I need to restick that in there better, but they're not that big. Here's another one. We'll go ahead and trim it out. There you go. That one I picked a little earlier. And I'm just gonna get all the heavy plants off the top. Those heavy plants are what help to bring a plant down when the winds are really heavy. So do what you can. Remove heavy fruits on plants that you don't normally have to stake or haven't been staked, and stake them if you can. Make sure they're tied up tight. That's it. Think about it now. What plants do I not normally stake or trellis that I can stake and trellis now to protect from heavy winds? Okay, let's talk about heavy rain events. Now, it's strange to think about water being a problem in your garden, but what we're talking about here is a very serious storm. I'm in Southeast Texas, and in Southeast Texas, it's feast or famine. It's either too much water or not enough, but I can tell you 9 times out of 10, water, too much of it, has hurt my garden more than wind. So let's talk about that for a second. The first and easiest tip that you can do right now to avoid damage from heavy rain events, and this is tip number 4, stop watering. Too much water in your garden can cause so many problems. I better pick that up. Hold on, there's gonna be wind. Too much water in your garden can cause so many problems. So we have to be careful of those things. And if we water now with our watering can or our hose or our drip system or whatever you have, and we know we're gonna get potentially, and in my case, several inches of rain or more in a 24-hour period, we could be doing more harm than good. Wait it out. I know what you're thinking. Hey, what if it misses us? In Texas, it often does. It's okay if it does. You know what? Once the storm is past and you know it's not coming, water your garden. It's that simple. Tip number 5 for heavy rain events. Now, it's that time of year for me right now where I've planted a few things kind of as a late summer crop, or maybe an early fall, or maybe you're in the position where you've already created or planted your fall garden. And in that case, you probably have seedlings. And if you have seedlings, you need to protect them. These are the ways I find most helpful. Containers, okay? This is just a regular old coffee bucket, coffee can, plastic. This is an old plant container. These things work great. That, with some landscape staples, can do amazing things. So when it comes to protecting your seedlings that are very tender and susceptible to easy death from heavy objects like a rock or rain, it's really, really easy to protect them. You can use something as simple as this. This is just a leftover bucket that I got from planting a plant last year. It was $18.98, and these are landscape staples, which are really, really cheap. And you can get them on Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to pick them up there. But they're really cheap and they're really useful for lots of things. All we have to do to protect this, and you notice it has holes, just like you normally would see, it has holes in it. From when you bought the plant, you know, it has to get water. Same thing. It's going to allow some water in with the plant, but it's going to protect it from that heavy rain. When the heavy rain hits, it can lay them down, and it will guaranteed it's going to kill at least a portion of your seedling. So all we do is we take this, we lay it over the top, make sure it's got all our plants covered. We take a landscape staple, push it in through the back, and then one over through here to hold it in place, and we're good to go. So as you can see, this is a great way to protect your small and tender seedlings during a very heavy rain event. That heavy rain will pound them down. I had radishes that were lost for that reason, all right? And this is a great way to do it. Now, there's a couple things to keep in mind. Don't put it on too early. I'm not gonna do this now. The rain's not gonna be here for another 10, 12, 14, 24 hours. I'll do it right before. And don't leave them on too long either. You don't wanna kill your plants because you didn't pull a pot off. You knew I wasn't done. This is bonus. This is number 6. This is something extra that you can do, and it's just something that you have to know when you see your own plants and some things you go through. I will tell you before, like I said, rain has been one of the worst things to me. Not because I didn't get it, which sucks really bad, that I want it too, but when it comes down heavy. My purple hull peas, the things that we showed in last week's video, I'll link it in the card up above. Those peas, I didn't have them trellised yet. And a rain came and it was an extremely, extremely bad rain, and you could see how bad it flattened them out. Now I had the same event happen with these okra. Just after filming last video, we were hit by a pretty heavy thunderstorm, and it actually broke off one of the plants that I had shown you kind of close up in the video. Now it's already resprouting from the bottom, and I've taken care of it a little bit, but there is something that you can do to take care of these plants. Things that you don't normally have to do. These things stand up straight. They do great. It's for some reason heavy rain. It'll take wind. Not really heavy wind, but it'll take wind better than it takes rain. Heavy rain will push these things out and it breaks the stalks and they're just done. Now, If I lose them, it's not a huge deal. I've gotten a huge crop out of these, and I'm kind of ready to move on to something else, but they've still got lots of time left. So here's one thing you can do to make this work. A simple way to add to this particular structure is, if you could see, I have this rebar here that's on the end. It's not really that safe, but I do have pink ribbon on it to make sure that it stays at least somewhat safe. I can take this PVC, put it over the top of the rebar, and use this string in my existing trellis to help support these a little bit, okay? That's it. It's not pretty, but I don't care. It'll work. There it is, guys. There's your 5 tips plus 1 on how to protect your garden when you have bad weather coming in. Now look, there's different kinds of weather all over the place. Tornadoes are a huge deal. You can't protect from that, okay? If I get hit with a Category 5 hurricane, I can't protect from that either. But we're talking about reasonable circumstances here. There's freezes, there's things like that that you can protect about by just using your brain, looking at what you have around you, and thinking logically through the process. Now, I hope this video helped you out. If it did, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more, make sure to hit the subscribe button. And if you have somebody that might benefit from this, maybe a friend, a parent, a sister, what have you, share it to them. I'd really appreciate it. Guys, that's it for me right now. I just want to remind you that there are 4 important things to having a healthy and well-balanced life. That's number 1, you need something to believe in. Number 2, you need someone to love. Number 3, you need something to do. And number 4, you have to have something to look forward to. And gardening can definitely give you something to look forward to. All right, guys, that's it. I'll see you next time. Doc's out.